This property report is powered by realestate.com.au. Know the value of your home today. Track your property now.
To property now, and joining us from Melbourne for our weekly property report is John Healy from realestate.com.au. John, after experiencing a snap lockdown that we saw last week in Melbourne, can the city now look forward to its first Super Saturday of auctions tomorrow? What can we expect?
Well, a lot of excitement and a lot of anticipation, Danica, and good afternoon. As you say, the Melbourne market is due to hold its first Super Saturday of the year, which is great news. More than 1,000 auctions are set to go to market tomorrow, which will be the first time this year that Melbourne has seen those levels. And the first Super Saturday Melbourne has hosted this year, so that's great news. The last Super Saturday in Melbourne we saw just back in December, but before that you have to go all the way back to March last year since the last time we saw auction levels like this in Melbourne. And what a difference a week makes, as you say. This time last week, Victoria was preparing to go into that snap 5-day lockdown. And of course, the stage 4 restrictions meant that in-person auctions and open for inspections were off the table. So a far more positive looking weekend for Melbourne ahead, which is great news. And of course, this Super Saturday is actually coming a little earlier than Super Saturdays generally arrive in Melbourne. It's usually the very last weekend in February and even sometimes into March before Melbourne sees auction numbers like this. So again, more welcome news for the Melbourne market.
Yeah, what a difference a week makes, as you said, John. What about the rest of the country?
Well, that's right. There's plenty of auction activity right around our major capitals. More than 1,900 auctions are scheduled around the country this weekend. That's up around 34% week on week. And Sydney is leading the charge there. If you have a look at the Sydney numbers, around 615 auctions scheduled to go to auction there, which is up 25% week on week, which is great. So plenty of auction action all around the country. Auction numbers up in Brisbane, in the ACT, and relatively solid in Adelaide week on week. So there'll be a lot of action out on the streets of the capital cities tomorrow with auctions buzzing.
And what were the clearance rates like last week?
Well, the clearance rates last week were actually very, very impressive right around our major capital city markets. We had clearance rates in excess of 90%. So if we have a look at some of those now, you see the Sydney market there with 92% clearance rate, which is great. Melbourne, despite all of its challenges, still recorded a 91% clearance rate last weekend. Many auctions were brought forward to the Friday night. Others went online, and of course many were also postponed, but 91.7%, a great result. But the ACT leading the way there with a 97.5% clearance rate is great news for that market.
Yeah, good to hear. And what sort of properties are getting the most attention this week?
Well, the most viewed property on realestate.com.au this week that is actually going to auction is a home in Adelaide in Coromandel Valley. It's a 4-bedroom, 1-bathroom home that's set on a huge block of land. If we have a look at it now, there's a really great lifestyle property there with a lot of potential that buyers are looking for as well. Coromandel Valley, just 16 kilometres to the southeast of the Adelaide CBD in a semi-rural area. The price on this property, though, $500,000, is clearly attracting a lot of attention and a lot of eyeballs, a lot of clicks on our site this week, which is terrific. And a real lifestyle property there close to the city. Speaking, though, of lifestyle properties, our home in Sylvania really takes the cake. You can see it there as our third most viewed home going to auction this weekend. It's at Tara Street in Sylvania, and it's simply a stunning home with a lot of wow factor. Some beautiful pictures here of the home. It's a 5-bedroom home, but parking for, can you believe, 12 cars. If you have a look at that, there's obviously an avid car collector selling this home. So if you happen to be similarly an avid car collector and you're looking in the south of Sydney, overlooking the beautiful Georges River in Sylvania, perhaps get along to that auction tomorrow and see how you go.
Well, the space is certainly there. Absolutely stunning property, but that car collection in itself, John, amazing. Now, just finally to another issue making news in property, the New South Wales government's property tax proposal. Now, this, of course, would give buyers the choice of paying stamp duty up front or opt to pay a smaller annual property tax. Given the huge buyer demand and the relatively low levels of stock on the market, is this a move that could encourage more people to sell their homes, do you think?
Well, we know, of course, that stamp duty is a major impediment to people buying and selling property, largely because it can add tens of thousands of dollars to the cost of a property up front. And of course, sellers are often looking to buy as well. So they might be selling to upsize or they might be selling to downsize. So it is only natural that the cost of stamp duty would play on a seller's mind as well when they're planning that next move and the timing of their next move. So actually a realestate.com.au survey last year did reveal that 74% of respondents would be more likely to transact in property that's buying or selling if stamp duty was off the table. So there is potential for a lack of stamp duty or the removal of stamp duty to attract and encourage more sellers into the market. And that, of course, would help balance a market. A market much like we're seeing now is a real seller's market in many places around the country. More stock coming onto the market would help to balance that and make it a more even playing field for buyers and sellers, which is really healthy too. The proposals that the New South Wales government has on the table are currently open for community consultation and feedback until the 15th of March. So obviously a lot of people weighing into that to help shape what that proposal looks like and exactly what that alternative tax may be. And no doubt many other states and territories will be keeping a close eye on what New South Wales does as the economy continues its recovery post-COVID.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be watching it very closely. John Healy from realestate.com.au. We'll see you again next week. Thank you.
Thanks, Danica.